Hello, everyone. I am Tanya Henderson, and I am going to talk about Business Central today. We're going to talk about dimension combinations. I was previously a Great Plains person, Dynamics GP, and I have since jumped over to the Business Central world. In the GP world, we were so used to having segments. In a Business Central, we have dimensions and dimension values. So it's a little confusing sometimes to some of the people that are in the Great Plains world and customers that we speak with that, what's the difference? I have a segment versus a dimension, and how can I not post to a particular dimension? And you do that through a what's called a dimension combination. So what I'm going to walk through today is I'm going to walk through how you would set up your dimension combinations so that when you go to post to that particular dimension, then you will obviously not be able to post to it if you haven't set up the combination correctly. So we're going to just basically hop over to my desktop. I'm going to show you how to get to the dimension combinations, and then we'll set up a few. I won't set up all of them because I have a few for this particular customer. And what I'll do is I will then show you in their test company how when we're posting to those dimension combinations, the error message or the message that you would get that would show you that it's not a valid combination. So I'm going to go ahead and hop over to my desktop and we will get started. So the way to get to the dimension combinations is to actually go into the right-hand corner, and you can click on the magnifying glass up there, and then that you can just type in dimension combinations. There's a couple of ways that you can get to it. You can get to it through your setup screens as well, but I'm just going to go through dimension combinations here. So when I type that in, well, I have to spell it right first. I can see that I have dimension combinations here. And then of course I have my dimensions, I can do another video about that. But in the dimension combinations, what I will see in this particular window is all of the dimensions that I have set up in the system. So in this one I have entity, service role, entity, add back. You'll also notice going across the screen, I also have the same exact dimensions. So I can't block a dimension that is of another dimension. So if I had entity here and entity here, you'll notice if I actually tried to click on this and open this record, nothing happens. Don't worry about that. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm actually going to block out some things in what are called the service line. So if I click on service line, what you'll notice is that it will say no limitations, which means it's completely open. And then you'll have limited, which will give you an option to be able to limit certain dimensions. And then of course blocked completely means that I won't be able to post between entity and service role. So I'm going to choose limited for my purposes, and I'm going to choose OK. And so then now I see entity there, and then I will also see the service line. You'll notice that the service line now has the word limited in it. So if I click on limited, it'll actually ask me, do I want to look at those values? And I would say yes. So what I will see is a listing of the values. I'm going to make this a little bit bigger, so I'm going to open that up. And so what I will see here now, on the left-hand side, I will see entity, and then I'll see my two dimensions, my values for that particular dimension. And then I will see going across the page the values there for the service line. And so then now what I can do is I can walk through each of these and I can either leave them open or block them. So if I don't want to be able to post between or choose corporate for peak, then I would go ahead and block that. If I do want to be able to post, then I would just go ahead and leave that open. And then of course for my other entity, I would click on that, and then I would be able to go through and either block or open all of those different ones. Once I'm finished with this particular area, I can just close that out. You'll notice that my service line now here says limited, and my service line over here says limited. Okay. And then I can kind of go now and go through each of the different dimensions and choose and continue to choose whether I would limit or block or obviously leave that open. So I'm going to go ahead right now and I'm going to switch over to my test company because I've done a whole bunch of settings in my test company. And I want to show you kind of the dimension combinations in that particular area. So we'll wait for that to come up, do my lookup, or I can also use my keyboard for that. And I think it's Control Q. I believe that's what it is. I have to look down for that one. Oh, nope, that's something else. All right, so that's what happens when you do something live. So now you can see my service lines here. I have entity, and then I have all of my different areas blocked out. So now if I want to go in and I want to look at maybe the role for that particular one, I can always go back and change these at any time. But you'll notice that each of my dimensions now are either blocked or not blocked for each of the areas that I would be able to post to. Okay. And so then if I'm looking at the top here, you'll see that I have previous column, next set, and so on. What that allows me to do is actually kind of just make my entry possibly a little bit easier. I pretty much just, kind of left it open because I was doing mine hierarchical. So I started with my entity, went down to my service role, then I went into my department, went into my role, and then my add back. So I'm going to go ahead and just leave that the way it is. So that's how I would walk through each of those areas. And then what I can do is I can go over to my general ledger area. I'm going to do a general journal entry. Okay, and I'll just choose the default one that's up there at the top. Okay, and I actually already have one sitting in here. So you'll see there that I have my GL account. I have my entity code here. So that was my particular entity for that. I chose this particular service line scope, and I have my amount in there. And again, if the combination isn't valid, I would get a message. So if I come up there to post this and I want to post that, I would then say, do I want to post my journal lines? I would say yes. If there's an actual error, it's going to tell me that there's an error in the combination. So it's going to tell me that this particular combination cannot be used. Okay. And it doesn't warn me ahead of time, and I'm not sure of a way, if possible, to be able to, kind of not show those. That could be an extension that could be done, but I'm not sure if there's a way to actually block that out. But then what I would do, of course, is I would choose my combination that is valid, and I'm not sure if this is an actual combination that's valid. But I'm going to go ahead and try to post that one. It would ask me if I want to post it. Again, that's not a valid one. So what I'll do is I'll actually go ahead and choose one that I know that is a valid entry. And I'm just going to go in here and whoops. And I'll just do a new document there. Whoops, I don't have a new one. There we go. Okay, perfect. So then I'm going to choose my GL account here. Okay, I'm going to choose my my first entity here, and I'll just kind of go into Peak. And of course, I'm going to choose my service line, which I know that's a valid service line. And then I'll choose this, and I will choose, let's go down here to this particular entity here. And then of course I can choose, obviously I'll have to enter my debit amount. And then I'll go to my next line here. I'll go ahead and just stay with Peak. And I will go ahead and do a different option here. And I'll stick with this same one. And notice I only had a couple of things because that would be one of the ones that was maybe only valid for that particular area. And then I think research is also there. And I'm going to go ahead and choose my credit amount. Again, I'm going to go ahead and try to post that. It'll ask me that, and boom. So if it's a valid combination, it will automatically go ahead and post. If it is not a valid combination, as you saw, it will then just give you that error message that it's not valid. So that's a way that you can basically, post to those or block out those dimensions. So I hope that that helped everyone today because, like I said, as I was going through and attempting to figure out that combination screen, it definitely looks a little bit different in Nav, but it is kind of very valid. The same kind of setup. You do it in Nav and Business Central. So, but again, I hope everybody learned something. And until next time.